Good evening, everybody. Welcome to our regularly scheduled board meeting. And I want to reconvene us to regular meeting and report out that nothing happened during closed session, which is good. No expulsions, nothing like that. I also want to welcome our flag saluters from Lead Elementary School. We have 4 students with us this evening. We have Amin Yosef. We have Matthew Smfcsd. Hi there. We have Carmen Lizette Morales Zavala. Did I say that? Great, thanks. And Elizabeth Gebhardt. Hi there. Would you guys like to make your way to the podium to lead us in the flag salute?
Please stand. Put your right hand over your heart and pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Now, why don't you guys introduce... Why don't you each introduce yourselves, tell us a little bit about what you like to do at Lead Elementary School, and introduce the person you brought with you this evening. Microphone? And you can lift it up so it's... Yeah.
My name is Carmen, and I brought my mom and my dad. What I like to do in the elementary school, I like to read books at the library.
I'm Elizabeth, and today I brought my mom and dad, which are over there. And what I like to do at Lead Elementary is that I like to play my clarinet, and I also really, really, really like to read.
Hi, I'm Maddie, and I like to and I brought my mom and dad, and also what I really like to do at Lead Elementary is read books.
My name is Ahmed, and I brought my dad, and what I like to do at Lead Elementary is math.
And I believe there's one more person from Lead Elementary School. The principal maybe came tonight too. Thank you. And thank you for coming here and opening up our meeting. We know that you guys have a lot of homework to do, so you can of course stay and witness public offices, and we're going to be going through some elections ourselves right now. But of course, if you have homework to do, we are totally understand, and you can go home and take care of your homework. Okay, so thank you. All right. Well, first, let's let the roll call reflect that all 5 trustees are here and they're new faces today, greeting you guys. So we're excited to have them on board. And we also have some distinguished guests among our audience. We have elected officials from Foster City, our new mayor, Sam Hindi. Yay. Council member Herb Perez. Council member Catherine Mahanpour. And we have Redwood City Council Member Shelley Mazer. And Charles Stone from Belmont, thank you. Sorry about that. And am I missing some? Kevin Fong from Kevin Mullen's office. Thank you for being here. And are the Any others that I missed out there? All right. Okay, welcome. And as I said, you're going to witness us do some business stuff at first before we get to the actual meat of our meeting. So I'm now going to recess our regular meeting to convene our annual organizational meeting. Dr. Rosas? Yes.
I would like to ask for Robert Watkins to come forward for the ceremonial swearing in. You all set this? Did you memorize this? Something to use. Don't use that name. That's not my one. No, that's not. Here you go, and the two of you can stand right here.
So I would say that I, Shara Watkins,
I, Shara Watkins,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support
that I will support
and defend
and defend
the Constitution of the United States.
the Constitution.
I'm sorry. Let's start. I, Shara Watkins,
I, Shara Watkins,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies,
against all enemies,
foreign and domestic,
foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith
that I will bear true faith
and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California, and that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I am about.
Okay, and now I would like to ask Yvonne, Miss, to come forward. She is going to be honored for Maria. Thank you for coming. That's not put over me.
Thank you. It's a privilege and an honor to swear in Noelia. So please raise your right hand. I, Noelia Corso, do solemnly swear
I, Maria,
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
and the Constitution of the State of California against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of California,
to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
that I, without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
without any mental reservation
and that I will well and faithfully
and that I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter.
discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter. And introduce this little one. This is my son, Mikey.
now we move to the election of the officers. And we have 4 officers to elect. Oh. Okay, we are moving to the election of officers now. And that is open to the board. We are electing a president, a vice president, a clerk, and a trustee representative. Okay. Do I have a motion for a president?
I move that I become president.
Okay. Okay, then a vote. All those in favor? Any nays? Abstentions? So, so how many, what were the, how many ayes? Okay, so Rebecca, aye, and Nancy, aye. Any noes? Abstentions? Okay.
I'm sorry, how many ayes were there? I can't hear
There were
it.
2 ayes.
So, and there are how many nays?
Any abstentions?
But actually, Audrey, you also need to vote.
Oh,
Because
right.
you're kind of acting as president right now, you're presiding. So you get to vote, don't forget your name. So you will either yea or nay or abstain. So we're needing to do the math.
Okay.
I wrote math. You all do that.
So I have 2 ayes, nay,
I vote no.
and abstention.
I will vote aye.
You will vote aye. So now we have 4. Okay.
Okay, so now we are up for the vote for the next officer. Is this on? So the next officer, we're going to take a vote. Are there any motions for vice president? I vote for Audrey for vice president. I nominate Audrey, I apologize. I move that Audrey become vice president. Vote, vote. Any ayes? Aye. 1, 2, 3. Audrey? Okay. Shara, I didn't catch your vote. Thank you. Okay, so 4 ayes and 1 abstain. Audrey abstains. Okay, so next is vote for clerk, board clerk. Any motions? I second. And a vote? Ayes? Aye, 5 ayes. So the next is for trustee representative, and Dr. Rosas, I may require assistance in explaining this.
Tim
And then we
Fox,
can
would
kinda
you be
tag
able to
team.
explain the committee
Well,
on reorganization for the
I-
trustee?
Actually, I can do that. I think I might just need a little help from you to jump in on some clarification points. So, there is a committee for the reorganization of school districts. Is that what it's called? Okay. That is a county-wide committee for all of our 23 school districts in San Mateo County. And representatives to that committee are elected from the different school districts to serve on that committee. So they are elected, however, based on where the person lives. So there are 3 different regions from which they are elected, and they're based on supervisorial districts. So people who live in Supervisor Carol Groom's district is one group. The other is who reside in Dave Pine's area, and that's it, there's only 2. We only have 2 in our school district, in San Mateo Foster City School District. So the seats are divided up on this committee at the county level based on representation of geographic area. So, I frankly do not know at this exact juncture which area they're drawing from.
Good evening, members of the board. Could have been here all day, you wouldn't have heard me. Good evening, members of the board. The County Committee on School District Organization, as your board president just described, is a county-wide body. Every school district elects a governing board representative, not to the county committee itself, but to a body that elects the members of the county committee. So the action you're being asked to take tonight is not to elect one of your number to serve on the County Committee on School District Organization. It's actually to elect one of your number to attend one meeting, which occurs every year in November, to elect new representatives to the county committee. So it's not a particularly onerous duty, but it is an important one because the people from the school districts elect the county committee, and the county committee makes decisions about things like the adjustment of school district boundaries and the manner of election of school district trustees. So the county committee's work is very important. The governing board representative from your board will only be asked to attend one meeting and then potentially nominate themselves or be nominated to serve on the committee, but that's not the action you're taking tonight. It's simply to attend one meeting on behalf of your district to elect the members of the county committee.
And votes. Thanks. Votes. Ayes. Aye. 5 ayes. Okay. So now we move on to agenda item number 4.3, appointments by the president. So I do want to explain a little bit about the thought process that went into when I was considering the potential of making appointments. And the way I approached it was wanting to know what each of you are interested in and your strengths, and from what you're telling me, because we've had numerous conversations, I've had numerous conversations with the 3 newly electeds, and Audrey and I have gotten to know each other really well over the last 2 years. So I thought about I thought about myself, what I think you would be great at, and then I asked each of you, except Audrey, because we've known each other really a long time and well, what I thought you would be interested in. So wanted to hear from you, and I wanted to support your strengths. And so with that said, the first appointment is for the secretary of the board, and that is I'm appointing Joan Rosas, our superintendent. Thank you. You're welcome. Get out your note paper. And then, right. So for legislative representative, I am appointing Shara Watkins. For liaisons to San Mateo City Council, so for this, the president of the board serves as well as a trustee appointed. And so for San Mateo City Council, I am appointing Shara Watkins. For the liaison to Foster City Council, I will serve, as well as I am appointing Rebecca Hitchcock. So for liaison to PTA Coordinating Council, I am appointing Audrey Ng. For liaison to the District Special Ed PTA, I'm appointing Shara Watkins. For liaison to the district, DAC and DLAC council, and I will say what that stands for because we always use a lot of educational jargon. So that is the liaison to the District Advisory Council and the District English Language Advisory Council. And for that position, I am appointing trustee Noelia Corzo. This, I think, was not reflected in the, I don't know if it got made to the online version of the agenda, but there is an additional appointment, which is to the Homeroom Committee. And so that is a group that has been meeting for at least, and it's made up of representatives from Assemblymember Kevin Mullen's office, actually a key person in this Homeroom Committee, so thank you very much. He's taken a great leadership, as we know, in housing issues and workforce housing. And this was a committee that was convened by Sue Lempert. Just correct me anytime I'm wrong. Thank you. And it also has a member from the San Mateo City Council. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And it also has, I don't know who else serves.
The community college district, the high school district, and our district.
Okay. And so we will also, for example, be inviting, some people from Foster City that we know very well and we like to join in this important group. So with that all said, that's the Homeroom Committee, and I have appointed Noelia Corso. Thank you. Sorry, I apologize, Colleen. I saw you there. I'm sorry. How did I skip that? I skipped it. I apologize. So, and then another appointment is for the liaison to the San Mateo Foster City Education Foundation. And for that, I appoint Rebecca Hitchcock. Then there are there's one other that is an ongoing initiative that also is not in your agenda online, but Trustee Audrey Ng and myself have been involved with Julie MacArthur, and Sue Olinger. Is Sue here? There's Sue. Hi, Sue. So that's the Labor Management Initiative, and actually, we have our very own Shelley Major here, who is serving not only as council member of Redwood City, but her day job is running and working with the California's CDE. Thank you so much. The Californians Dedicated to Education Foundation, which is working statewide in California to help with the rollout of the Labor Management Initiative. So our district had been involved prior to this summer as well in some different learning events. But this summer we went to a seminar with the group I just mentioned and Dr. Rosas, of course. So that formed the core of the Labor Management Initiative team in our district. And that's work that we're very committed to and very important. And so with that said, not really, it's for discussion, it's appointment. So with that said, then I would appoint to continue on the team of the Labor Management Initiative, myself and Trustee Audrey Ng, to continue working on this important role with our partners within the unions and the teachers and the classified staff. So not to overburden everyone with committee appointments, but in thinking about moving forward over the next year and over the next several years, just wanting to establish, we have already connections with our cities and with our school districts and within the different entities that we work in collaboration. But I had the thought to perhaps codify something with the San Mateo Union High School District. So to that end, thinking of a high school district liaison. So when I discussed this with Dr. Rosas, she astutely pointed out, we might need to ask them about that first. So she will be having a conversation with the high school district and find out if that's something that they would be open to or interested in. So we'll be reporting back on that. And along those same lines, another thing that is very important to us as a district and what we are doing in supporting our preschools and having the real knowledge that early learning is one of the most important foundations for all students and children. There is, I do hope that most of you in the room are already familiar with the Big Lift, which is a San Mateo County-wide initiative that was founded jointly by Supervisor Carol Groom. I'm not going to remember her name right now, and I apologize, but I believe the director of First Five, I think, and Shelley, you may be able to help me out here, Kitty Lopez. And then also Silicon Valley Community Foundation. And actually the woman that had started with those two has moved on. But she and that team was hugely successful in getting a very large early round of funding, but this was a couple of years back. They actually got, I don't know the designation, but something like a super innovation grant from the federal government to work on First Five. The goal of the First Five initiative is to increase the percentage of all students and their reading proficiency by grade level 3. Because, and I don't remember the exact statistic, but I believe it's something like, I think it's like, is it 30% or 60%? It's a very low percentage, too low of students by 3rd grade. I'm not going to say the number because I don't want to misspeak, but too few of our students by 3rd grade are reading at grade level. So the goal of the Big Lift is to help them achieve that, and to do that by literacy programs, by bridging literacy over the summer, working with libraries and working with teachers and working with the schools. So the Big Lift meets quarterly. They have open to the public quarterly updates. And I have actually been attending, I've attended probably 80% of them for the past year. They occur, as I said, quarterly, and they occur on Wednesdays at 3:30 at the San Mateo County Office of Ed. So if that's something that, you know, is that something that there's an interest in? I guess that's what I would like to ask. And an interest in designating that as an actual, not an appointment, but an appointment as like a liaison or rep. So I'm seeing a nod from Rebecca, nod from Noelia.
Liaison to just Big Lift, liaison for early education initiatives generally.
Well, would you like to establish something like that?
Just wondering.
Well, I was thinking only of specifically Big Lift. So, for example, as a legislative rep, you know, there's sort of room to branch out from that. Patrick? Thoughts on the Big Lift?
Well, that's a great point. It is a great point.
Right. Because I have attended these meetings, and it's very wonderful to attend because you have collaboration from all sectors. There's early educators, there's business, so it's interesting. Okay, so we'll appoint a Big Lift liaison. Who would be interested in doing that? Noelia? Okay. Wonderful, thank you. I would like to appoint Noelia Corzo for the Big Lift liaison. Okay. Yeah, that's good. For what? For the designated signatories? Thank you so much. Okay, thanks. I'm not going to read all that. Thank you so much. Yes, no, thank you. Okay, so moving on to agenda item number 4.4, designating signatories, which is for a vote. So we are looking for a recommendation that the Board of Trustees will approve the designating signatories. Motion? Yes. Okay. Votes? Aye. 5 ayes. Okay, moving on to agenda item number 4.5, designating banks. Okay, that's fine. Okay, I'll read it. It is recommended that First Bank and Trust San Mateo be designated as the depository for the clearing account and the revolving account, First Bank and Trust San Mateo for the cafeteria account, and that the county treasurer be designated as the source of such short-term loans as may be deemed necessary. Motion? Thank you, exactly. I second. Vote. Aye. Agenda item 4.6, readoption of existing board policies. It is recommended that the existing board policies be readopted. Second. Vote. Yes. Thank you.
Just three of us are new to the board. I just want to clarify that although we might be readopting them now, that they're open for adjustment. Is that accurate?
Absolutely. You have literally hundreds of policies, and you will, through the course of your tenure, look at most of them. And as time goes by, there may be legal updates that come into play, or changes in curriculum, or things that you want to do differently throughout the district. You may even be creating policies. So it's just readopting that which we have, so that we have a guide for our actions now, and it protects our students. But then you always have the opportunity for making change.
I have an additional question. Do we have to vote on this now?
I would have to ask for legal counsel.
It is traditionally a function performed by the board at the annual organizational meeting. I'm not aware of a statutory requirement that action be taken on the board policies, but it is something that the board has done historically at its annual organizational meeting.
I would like to comment on both of what you both said, and I appreciate you raising this, Shara, and your question as well, Noelia. So while it's, as Joan was pointing out, important to do that for the continuity of programs, etc., she also pointed out that they are up for revision and review at any time, based on if we see a need. Also, I am aware, and I don't know the timing of it, Joan, but that prior to you, your time as superintendent, I believe there was maybe a policy review group that met, and then maybe some policies removed and some policies added. So, since that was prior to my time on the board, maybe it's something that we might want to have sort of a historical perspective on, or some kind of summary, so that we would have some sense of what was removed, etc. And it's also, for example, important to, one thing that I had noticed when I had been perusing the policies at different times over the last 2.5 years, was that when you look at each policy, at the bottom it references any legal codes and sections that are pertinent. And it also lists a historical record for that policy. So when it was created, if it was created in we have some that were created in the 70s. So it will reference that, and it will reference every year if there was a year in which they were updated or changed. So I had noticed that some of them do not retain the historical record. They only say adopted in, and then whatever that date was, that there was a complete 100%. And if someone might be in the audience who might know the date, but I can't see them right now. That might be former trust. There she is. So because it's not in my board memory, and I don't know if you might, and it doesn't matter. So anyway, so it's important, I think, to make note that we would need to have the historical record for all of the policies when they're enacted. Just tidbit.
One more question. Tim, this is probably for you. I'm going to give you all the if this, since this wasn't something this has to be voted on now, this isn't voted on now, do these policies kind of remain intact on the periphery, and any, I guess, negative ramifications for not using them?
They're not on the periphery. They're your board policies, whether you take action on them or not. They are your board's policies until you take action to rescind them or replace them. So there really isn't much in the way of legal consequence for failure to take specific action on them tonight.
Then I personally would like to make a motion to table this until we review the board. I don't know if that's something we can do.
You have to do a vote now, because you have a motion on the table in a second, so do a vote.
So we
If
had a
it
mo-
dies from the vote, then
Right.
do another motion.
Right. Right. So to recap, we had a motion and a vote for to adopt. We had a motion and a second to adopt. So vote. Any ayes? Any nays? Nay. Audrey?
It's just existing
Right,
policies.
right, right.
We could always
Great. Okay, so another motion to table that the existing board policies, readopting the board policies. I move that we table this readoption. Vote. Aye. I'm sorry, aye. Okay, so 5 ayes. Okay. Agenda item 4.7, readoption of existing instructional programs. It is recommended that the instructional programs be readopted. Motion? I move that the instructional programs be readopted. Vote? Aye. Nays? Okay. Okay, I think you can have discussion. I don't want to, if you have a question or comment, Shara? Okay, so 5 ayes. Okay, now the minutes. Yeah, the minutes. Thanks. Yep. Okay. Okay, reconvening. Thank you. Thank you. Item 4.8, adjourning the annual organizational meeting. So adjourned. Say that again? What was the motion? Okay. Motion to adjourn. Nah, it doesn't say vote. It doesn't say vote on here as part of the problem, frankly.
And maybe that actually wasn't, we may not have to.
Might have to vote to adjourn. Okay, thank you. So we're adjourning. No, I got it. Thank you for coming. Thank you. Okay, so we were, agenda item number 5, reconvene to regular meeting. Item number 5.1, approval of the agenda for December 7th, 2017. So motion. Second. Votes? Aye. 5 ayes. Audrey moved, right? Rebecca seconded? Okay, so item number 5.2, approval of minutes for the November 16th, 2017, and this is on for a vote. However, at that time, only 2 of the current trustees were trustees, so we would have a vote with 2 trustees. So I actually need to, oh, thank you. This is, what was that? Oh,
Just go ahead and call for it.
I'm sorry. Wait.
Change to the list, which I should just know. There's 4.6 comments. My comments was, second sentence where it says, I spoke about a meeting at the San Mateo County. It wasn't the Office of Education yet, it was the San Mateo County Committee on School District
Oh,
Organization.
right, that's
It's a
the
minor thing, but
committee.
I should have emailed it in to you guys to correct the item.
Texts, right, I know.
So that was my only change.
Okay. I'm just looking at. Okay, I
Madam
move
President,
to-
if I may, a point of order. I overheard something that caused me to feel that I needed to take the mic.
I thought you might.
All actions of the board require a vote of 3, including approval of the minutes. While it's an unusual circumstance to be faced with a meeting where the board needs to vote to approve minutes at a meeting that they didn't attend, I would again recommend that the vote of the full 5 be taken. And if it does take some time for those trustees that weren't present at the meeting to familiarize themselves with the actions that were taken, it can be tabled and then taken up at a future meeting. But ultimately, the minutes are not necessarily just voted on by the people that are acting from memory of what happened. It's the board making itself a record of the actions that were taken at that meeting. So it may be something that you want the full board to get up to speed on before it's taken as a vote by the full 5.
Thank you, Tim. And actually, Noelia, you were present. I mean, you were in the room and observing and listening. Just, you know, to make that comment. You were present, so 3 of us were present. So, having said that, a motion for the minutes? Vote. Ayes? Aye. 3 ayes. Noes? Abstentions? 2 abstentions, 3 ayes. I knew what she meant. Yes, you say abstain. Okay. So moving on to agenda item 6, statements. Okay. So item 6.1, public statements related to non-agenda topics. The San Mateo Foster City School Board cannot act upon any matter that has not been included and publicly posted on the agenda, except under limited circumstances as permitted by law. The board may refer matters raised in this forum to staff for investigation and or action where appropriate. Please limit your statements to 3 minutes. So are these for all public comment? Okay, so we have 6 public comments, and so we're going to call. Okay. So the first is our mayor of Foster City, Sam Hindi. And we have a time.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. My honor to call you Madam President. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Christy. Congratulations, Audrey, on being the Vice President. Congratulations, Rebecca, Noelia, and Shara. On behalf of Foster City and the council, I would like to congratulate you all and just let you know the city of Foster City looks forward to working with each and every single one of you. Nancy, I know over the past 3 years we've been working closely, and I know the relationship between Foster City and the school district in the past has not been the ideal relationship, but I think it is time for all of us and you, to move forward and forget about the past, think about the future. And for the most part, most of you are not part of the past. Neither have I, neither have Catherine. So I think we have on both boards enough support to move this forward. And the ultimate goal is, I think we all share the same goal, is for the future of our kids. Your kids, our kids are the same kids. We are one community, San Mateo, Foster City, it doesn't matter. And I always tell our residents, it doesn't matter where you live. This school district is one school district. It represents San Mateo and Foster City. And I know deep inside each one of you, you care about Foster City or San Mateo gives just about as people. So I wish you the best of luck, and I look forward to working with each and every single one of you. And I can tell you this city is willing and very interested in working with you to make sure this relationship moves forward. Thank you very much. Best of luck.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Hindi, and fellow council members, Catherine Mahampur and her press. Thank you. Okay, so next speaker is Emily Douglas.
Good evening. My name is Emily Douglas with Optera Energy Services for the Division of Energy. Optera implements customized energy programs for public agencies that leverage sustainable energy technologies to produce clean energy, modernize facilities, optimize learning spaces, and enrich communities. We focus our partnerships on school districts, cities, counties, and other public agencies with the vision to transform the communities they serve. I wanted to congratulate trustees Corzo, Dr. Watkins on your elections, and congratulate both trustees Moshe and for your continued leadership. Optera has begun the process of conversation with district staff for a preliminary assessment of how the district might develop a really transformational project for your students and your communities. And I really wanted to commend the vision and the commitment of the whole staff of the students you serve. Right now, we're working on the staff to meet a California Public Utilities Commission application deadline on December 31st, which, if not met, would have serious impacts to the demand for the return for solar projects in the public agencies. But your staff is all over it. By meeting this application deadline, the district is then positioned to begin evaluating options for a comprehensive energy program in January without losing out on the best financial benefits that are expiring this year. So a potential program could reduce your costs, could make your buildings more efficient, could add solar shade canopies to your campuses, and could create hands-on, project-based STEM learning opportunities in all of your classrooms. So personally, I love what I do because it brings together learning and environmentalism and community service. And as a mother and former resident of the Sunnybury neighborhood, I'd be really honored to partner with you to make a difference. So thank you very much and happy holidays.
Thank you, Emily Douglas. Our next speaker is Julie MacArthur. And
Good evening. As I think everybody knows, my name is Julie MacArthur. I'm the president of San Mateo Elementary Teachers Association. So I'd like to just start by welcoming our three new board members. Over the course of the election, I had the opportunity to meet all of you, and I have confidence that and trust that you guys will ask tough questions. You will push hard for that which benefits teachers and students, and that you're going to challenge the status quo. I think what we've seen so far tonight is that going to interrupt that, so thank you. Margaret Mead said, "Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, and committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has." I think our most recent negotiations are a good example of this. Teachers, our CSEA colleagues, and parents came together to say, we can do better. And while I am grateful that we were able to avoid a strike, more work needs to be done. We have classes with 33 students. We are overusing consultants to do the work of teachers and speech and language pathologists, and we need a definition of full inclusion. Our district is facing serious issues that need to be addressed, and SMETA's voice in those issues is crucial. Our contract is not in fact with the district. It is with you, the trustees of San Mateo Foster City School District. You are the policymakers. You are the stewards of the students in this district. We need a cultural shift. While we are happy to have a successor agreement tentatively agreed to, these types of protracted negotiations are unacceptable. Settled also is a funny word. It implies that we are taking something less than, and I want to assure this new board that we are not willing to do that for ourselves or for our students. Negotiations are about doing what we continually can to make improvements for teachers and students. The teachers, parents, and community here are not going to settle for overcrowded classrooms. We are not going to settle for being left out of important decisions, and we are not going to settle for anything less than a tough approach to the problems that we are facing. We can do better, and we expect to do better. Thank you.
Thank you, Julie. So the next speaker is Betty Tillman and Surinder Singh. Speakers, sorry. And actually, just for a heads up, the next one will be Stephen Davis. You'll be next. Yes, you'll be next.
Good evening. We would like to thank you for giving us the opportunity to speak to you. I am Betty Tillman, the director of Foster City Street Schools. Mr. Sabrina Singh, the administrator, Mrs. Ben Hagan, the assistant director, and we have Laura and Tina, two of our veteran teachers. So we really appreciate you giving us this opportunity. We would like to talk about the future of Foster City Preschool. Our mayor just mentioned that all of our goals are the same, and that is our children. We feel the same way. For the benefit of the new school board members, did you receive the letters that we delivered to you today?
We did, yes. Thank you very much. Yes, we all received them. I appreciate it.
You may not have had a chance to read it. Okay. All right, since you have not had a chance to read it yet, we have operated the Foster City Preschool and Daycare Center for the past 44 years and approximately 21 years at Charter Square, South the site of the district's new elementary school will be built there, which will replace us. And we are told to be gone by February 1st. We would like to save our school. We love our school. The children love it. So we like the district to consider all these things. This past October 5th, we had understood that the district will provide space for us in the new school facility. How we got to that understanding is outlined in what we delivered to you this afternoon. We don't have time to go through all of that tonight. On October 10th, we were told this would not happen, that we will be in the area where we were looking. In the week following October 10th, Superintendent Rose invited us to send our thoughts in writing about relocating the preschool to a district facility. We replied with 4 ideas, 2 of which would not involve Charter Square, and followed up with our letter of November 2nd, which you will read. Our correspondence with Dr. Rose is included what we delivered this afternoon. To date, we have received no response. We are waiting to hear. The time is running out. We understood the district shared our interest in a mutually agreeable solution to the preschool need for a home. May we please seek that solution together. This is what we're asking of you tonight. Your decision is impacted approximately 150 children, 300 parents, and 20 employees. Please, we're pleading with you tonight to work along with us so we have enough time to inform our parents before they begin to panic. You hold the future of our preschool in your hands. So please do the right thing. These precious children need to stay in foster care. We are a well-respected and recognized preschool in foster care. Please remember, our children now are your children. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Thank you. Stephen Davis, hello.
Hello, how are you tonight? First, a quick correction to, I don't know how to correct what we got up there earlier, but there is no special ed GPA or the district committee for the special ed committee for the district GPA. There is not actually a GPA for special ed.
Thank you for pointing that out. We will clarify that. Thank you. No, I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Thanks.
So anyways, and speaking of the special ed kids, there are over 1,000 special needs kids in the San Mateo Foster City School District. This is almost 10% of our 12,000 students. Today, their performance is essentially average for the special needs kids in California, and that average is pretty dismal. It's 13% are performing at or above grade level in English, and 12% in math as of 2015, 2016. This is really depressing if you are a special needs, a parent of a special needs kid. But there is hope. Much better is possible. Earlier this year, Innovate Public Schools came out with a report on students with disabilities in the San Jose School District. I sent you an email with a URL. I will not try to read it now. In short, San Jose is pretty much like we are in terms of performance for their special needs kids. Now, what was important for me in that report is how much better some of our neighboring school districts are doing. This is not some fancy place far away in New York or Finland or wherever. This is right here in the San Francisco Bay Area. Among our peer group of mixed income school districts, the top Bay Area district is doing twice as well as we are. 28% of their special needs students are performing at or above grade level. The top 3 schools are all doing similarly. And overall, the top 5 public schools in the San Francisco Bay Area, not somewhere else in California here, are performing at nearly 50% for their special needs kids. This is 4 times as well as we are. If we were doing that well, an additional 400 special needs kids would be performing at or above grade level. Even a little movement matters. If we were doing just as well as the San Jose School District, which is only at 16% English and 14% math, we would be doing 33% better in English and 16% better in math than we are today. Much better is clearly doable in California's public schools in general and in the San Mateo Foster City School District in particular. I hope the district itself will take on actions to close this gap quickly. I hope that the board will help find the resources to make this happen promptly. If those resources aren't available, let's go find them together. If it is something outside of school, let's talk about it and figure out how to make it happen. Much better is clearly possible here now. I had a great initial conversation with the district professional staff, thank you. But in order to effect real change in a timely manner, this needs to be a focus of the district's leadership, both professional and elected. Fully integrating special needs as a category for all LCAP requirements is a start and something that could be decided tonight, probably without a vote. Benching marking ourselves against the best, not the rest, is a decision that should be easy. Beyond that, let's figure out what it's going to take. Numbers matter, performance matters, outcomes matter. Special needs kids are not just bodies and bucks. They are our children. The separate and unequal education system that we have for our special needs kids is a big step forward from what things were before, but we have a long way to go to achieve true equality and equity for our special needs kids. I hope that both the San Mateo Foster City School District leadership and board of trustees will make this a priority. Today is a good day to start. Thank you.
Okay, and our final speaker during public comment is Chelsea Bonini.
I wanted to introduce myself as well as a parent of special education kids in our district. And I want to thank Steve Davis for presenting the report regarding the Candidate and Unified School District report, which outlines the achievement and opportunity gap that their special education students are experiencing with increasing frequency at schools that are more socioeconomically disadvantaged. I have frequently spoken from the other side of this dais about equity and the inverse correlation of achievement levels with levels of socioeconomic disadvantage in our schools. We have very few schools that do not follow this pattern. Studies show, as does the study concerning students with special needs, that more balanced schools are able to give students a better opportunity to achieve. It could be because of the mix of kids and the experiences they bring to share with one another in lessons and conversation, or it could be the more balanced PTA funds and parent volunteer time that schools have at these schools, or perhaps it's something else. But no matter what it is, kids with more needs are doing better, they are achieving better, and will likely have more opportunities in the future when they go to more valued schools. In other words, schools that are not segregated by class. We have addressed this issue in recent years, insofar as we have identified it as an issue. We have used pie chart depictions of achievement, and we have seen many test scores that inversely correlate with achievement levels at schools for these demographics of need. The issue of equity in our our achievement gap was requested as an agenda item by a district parent, Karen McCormick, in the spring of 2015. And at that time, there was focus on how policies might be impacting this, whether it's the impact of school choice or neighborhood sorting, or the failure of our enrollment policies to take these factors into account, all of which are likely culprits. But there was not the will to take action to remedy the situation. To not address this, to wait and see whether it gets better, or to see if the neighborhood is naturally balanced due to the encroaching gentrification, is effectively a disservice to all of our students. I implore you as the new board to address this issue of equity in the present moment, to take some action that will help alleviate socioeconomic segregation in our elementary schools. And I have been told that this is a very political issue. Well, so is housing and displacement of renters. But that does not mean that we do not need to address these issues. We have to work together to make our schools and our community the best place for everyone, for all students to have the best opportunity to achieve, no matter their income, language, or distance, or special needs.
Thank you, Chelsea Bonini. Public statements related to agenda items. Persons will be called on at the appropriate time. Item number 6.3, Advisory Committee Reports. So, Audrey, any advisory, right? No, and you don't have, so no advisory committee. Agenda item number 6.4, Foundation Committee Reports, PTA? No. Rack my brain. Item 6.5, District Staff Statements. Okay. Item 6.6, Statement of Board Members. So, just to clarify a little bit of process, we typically, and this is what we typically do, but this will be something, one of the things we can discuss on our governance team meeting on January 20th, but we typically, with board comments, start at that end and come up. So, with that said, Rebecca Hitchcock.
I'm honored to be up here, and I look forward to working with the community. Thank you.
I think I'm finding it hard to find the words. I want to say that I'm really honored to be here. I worked really hard. It's an honor to be the second Latina to serve on this board, and the first in over 10 years. As someone that graduated from this district, I have seen it through the course of almost my entire life. My son is now in this district, and I don't take this responsibility lightly. I think, I'm now in a position where I will have to make difficult decisions to the best of my ability, and I will do so. I will do so, and with the goal of serving all of our kids, with the goal of improving the achievement gap, making sure that every single one of our kids has the best education possible. I know that this isn't an easy task. There's going to have to be lots of difficult decisions, a lot of thinking outside of the box, a lot of learning on our end. Having 3 new board members is not something that typically happens, and it's going to be challenging at times. But like I said, I don't take this responsibility lightly, and I really will work very hard to make the right decisions for all of our children and for the future of our community. Thank you.
campaigning is still the same. My commitment is to the students, all of our students in our community. And I'm laser focused on that and looking forward to working together with all of the board members that are here, the district staff, our educators, parents, all community members, leaders in both Foster City, San Mateo, and our San Francisco Bay Area community and beyond. Really, it's going to take all of us together to make the kinds of changes and to institute, be able to make the best decisions for all of our kids. And so I'm looking forward to continuing to learn and continuing to tread down that path together. So thank you guys all for your investment in us, and looking forward to working together moving forward. So now that I'm wiser, I see the purpose of it. Why is it that why would that organization should be bent to the world? We need to be feel. We need to take that responsibility. And the reason I'm playing that is we are educators. We need to educate our children. Yes, STEM is great for career education. But social studies, history, civics, that will make responsible and engaged citizens. So that's why we're important, especially with the climate of urge people to look at their history and understand why we need
Okay, well, welcome everybody. And I'm going to just go right off what Audrey said and say Audrey, thank you for sharing what you just did. I did know what the today was and the significance, but hearing you describe it that way, I really appreciate that because you give a lot of thought to what, our students are learning and not our role. We're not the educators here, but you all are. And out there's many of you, and some have taught my own children. So I'm very happy to see you all. You give a lot of thought to that, and I appreciate that. And, you're talking about not only STEM, but about the morals and democracy and poli-sci and all this. So, I really appreciate that. You also said something which was interesting on talking about this, that after that really horrific event, I won't go on a side tangent too much, but I'll just say that I've only been to Hawaii twice, and both times I've been to Oahu. So it's funny that you mentioned that because we just went in the fall break, which was very nice, fall break. And my kids had never been there, and we went and we did a tour of the memorial of Pearl Harbor. And so they're at the age, they're 6th grade and 8th grade. So if we had taken them when they were 5 and 7, they wouldn't have really understood. But they were at the age where they were very engaged in learning what was going on. And sadly, it really is pertinent to what's going on in our society right now. So, I appreciate that. I feel each of you have mentioned, have mentioned how honored you feel to be up here. And I echo that absolutely, that I have felt honored for 2 years. And frankly, the fact that we have 2 former trustees in our audience who are still extremely engaged and committed to all of our students, our community, really speaks to this board. And this really is a perpetual board. It doesn't matter, this is continuing on no matter who's sitting here. But I feel very honored to have been working with the one I can't see right now, the former president, Bonini, and also Colleen Sullivan. They're carrying on the work of the importance for our students in the community. So I feel very honored. Each of you, we each bring very different things, and I respect each of you very much, and I appreciate what we all bring. And I think we have a pretty good team, including Dr. Rosas here. So I'm very hopeful for our future. We have a really bright future. I'm working with our cities who are here supporting us as well, and so many members of the community, and even other candidates who are still committed, calling out someone over there in the back of the room. So, we have a lot of engaged, committed people in our community, and that is one of the things that, to me, makes this a very, very, very strong community. And, Mayor Hindi said it, whether it's San Mateo, whether it's Foster City, whether it's the Highlands, the unincorporated portion, we are a community. And I think that, to me, the election, you can never know what the election will bear. But it's very interesting to me. We have 2 women who both are, as they say, is the term homegrown, right? So, Noelia and Rebecca both went to all of our schools. They went to elementary school, middle school, and then high school right here. So, I think you bring a lot to the table. Each of us brings different things to the table, but it's interesting that at this time, with the federal, what's going on, that encouraged a lot of people to step up and take more, committed action. And so I thank each of you 3 for doing that and running, and everyone who ran, because I do know that it's not that easy. So thank you. However, having said it's not that easy, now the real work begins. But, I'm confident that each of you are absolutely up for it. And I see that in the questions. Audrey mentioned this. We're happy that you're asking all these questions. We want you to ask questions. We want you to listen and learn, and which you're doing. You're hitting the ground running. So I really appreciate it. And having spent several days with each of you 3 at the end there in San Diego at our annual education conference for the California School Boards Association, and with Dr. Rosas and with Heather Olson, we had not only a good time and got to know each other socially, etc., but there was a lot of learning going on. And it was interesting because 2 years later, I didn't have that sort of brain-filled experience that I could observe that you were feeling, because there's a lot of information. There's 2,000 or 3,000 attendees. There's like 20 conferences like every hour. It's a lot. So I appreciate so much that you're soaking it right up. And we've talked about, I mean, there's some gaps, and that's understandable. There's gaps. I've been on the board for 2 years. I have only a collective memory of 2 years. Audrey is it, so thank you. We do rely on you for that collective memory and that history. So, with that said, I just feel very hopeful for our future. So, thank you.
I'd like to thank our elected officials for being here this evening. We really appreciate your support. Appreciate you being here. And I would also like to welcome our new trustees. Their willingness to jump in and start learning, and their positive energy is revitalizing. And I feel like we have a lot of things like me. And I wanted to tell all of you that I hope you have a wonderful holiday season in case you don't want to come back on December 20th, right before the holiday. So, yeah, another good holiday and restful time with your family.
So, item number 7,
Proposed consent agenda. All items on the consent agenda are considered by the board to be routine and will be enacted by the board in one motion in the form listed below. There will be no discussion on these items prior to the time the board votes on the motion, unless members of the board, staff, or public request specific items be discussed and removed from the consent agenda. The superintendent and staff recommend approval of all consent items. Movement of any suggested consent item is appropriate at this time. Need to go to this section. Agenda item number 8, Superintendent Board. Item 8.1, Support of Adequate School Funding Initiative. Yes, please. Oh, sure.
So I will start this item. Staff has been directed to look at different ways that we can advocate for school funding. You may be aware that we are 46th in the United States funded. We are underfunded even in our own county between other districts. And districts do overcome these situations by education foundations, which we're very thankful to have, and parcel taxes, which we've had in the past, community support. But the reality is that at 46 out of the 50 states, we are really in a very difficult situation. Finding the right support for our students does require financial support. So in any avenue that the staff finds or that the board finds to advocate, we have been bringing it to the floor. So this was actually another forum for promoting adequate school funding. CSBA, which Nancy has been involved in over the past year, more than a year, is
Any other comments or questions?
Yeah, I'd like to say that, having been to the conference and getting to hear from CSBA, what many districts, basically all districts in our state are going through, really makes it clear that there has to be an organized movement to lift up this issue and make sure that it's on the agenda for our next governor, for our politicians who have the power to make these types of decisions. There's definitely strength in numbers, and I think that we need to support it.
Any other comments or questions, or are we ready for motion? Okay. Motion? I moved to, yeah. I moved to. And then you read it. You read the recommended motion. The text is at the bottom.
Okay, I move to approve that the Cemetery Foster City School District continue advocacy efforts with the California School Board Association and join the school funding coalition in order to benefit from collective action and legislative advocacy efforts.
I second. Votes. Aye. Thank you.
Before, I have a question about, I got a little confused about the consent agenda. There was actually one item there that I had a question about, and I know that we voted on it already. I'm wondering what happened now.
Just to add in that item as well, sorry, I think I was under the impression we were voting under just the items under 7.1, not 7.1 and 7.2.
So, to let, perhaps I can, again, clarity of process. So for consent agenda, it's everything that is under item 7. So when you read the agenda, you need to look specifically in advance at the items, all of the items listed, everything in the item 7. I mean, sometimes it's not always 7, it could be 6 or it could be 8.
So since they were, right, they were all, those were all looked at, and you just didn't realize we were voting on 7.1 and 7.2.
Right, but everything under 7. So I'm just, again, right, clarity, process, everything under 7. So having said that, since there's, some discrepancy in understanding, absolutely, if there's a couple that you want to tell where there was questions, can you let me know? Which one?
Yeah, so I had a question about item 7.2.3, the student teaching agreement with the university.
Okay. And Shara?
Mine was on the same item.
Oh, okay.
So what is the question?
The question is, so I reviewed the agreement, and I just want to make sure that I understood that it's an agreement to have like a student teacher, or how many student teachers? I wasn't clear on that, and I'm just wondering how we got there. The University of Phoenix is a private online institution, so
maybe we can just ask one too, and I know. And I will say, I apologize, I do realize that in my questions, that I did not email this one out, so I apologize in advance for that. But I had a question just in terms of, similar question to Melanie, just in terms of how they were selected specifically as being folks that we would want to partner with student teachers, and I was also curious as to teacher input into this decision, with having student teachers that would be supporting the classrooms.
So we have had different universities approach us when they have student teachers and requested to place a student teacher with the district. And when we have a student teacher that is interested in working in the district, that goes through the principals, and teachers are asked if they would like to accept and have a student teacher in the classroom.
I'd like to add that we do have a
We have different universities that we work with, Cal State East Bay, San Francisco State University. So this is just another one that we are partnering with. And it is important for us to partner with our universities because it brings in amazing folks and we get to meet new talent and have an opportunity to recruit them with us. These will come regularly from a variety of different organizations.
It did, and so I guess my next question is whether, is it too late to pull this off of the consent agenda?
Right, so, I mean, that was what I was gonna suggest a little earlier, frankly. I was gonna say, we could pull it, and then we can have it on as an agenda item that you could hear about. Because you clearly have questions. So, I would ask a motion. Do we have a motion to table? Okay, who would? Well, thank you, Mr. Perez. Okay, no, good job, thank you. We take all help we can get. At least I do. So, back to what? Back to consent agenda? Okay, so, thank you so much. So back to consent agenda, item 7, proposed consent agenda. Any motions? I move that we table item number 7.2.3, Student Teaching Agreement, University of Phoenix. Votes? Aye. Yes, absolutely.
Don't
Well, I'm gonna approve it afterwards, right?
Okay.
We're gonna approve it afterwards. So, good question.
So we're redoing the votes.
Right, correct. Right. So we've tabled and I took for votes, and let's just do votes again so we get clarity. So, votes to table. Ayes.
And now.
But I didn't know the number of votes. Did you catch the number of votes? You got it? We all said aye? Audrey, did you vote? Okay, cool, thank you. Okay. So, a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended?
Motion to approve consent agenda as amended.
Second? Is there a second? Okay, thanks. Votes? Aye. 5 ayes. Okay, thanks. Thank you. Oh, what is it for? What are they for? So, number 8-1. Well, but that's fine, because we're back to 8 now. We went back to 7, we're back to 8. So that's good, perfect timing. Because isn't this for 8? This is for 8. Did we finish 8-1? We just finished 8-1. So, however, okay, so Randy Painter, yes, please come on up. But in the future, we do have ample blue slips back there just as a process reminder, you know, that it is helpful if we can get them in on time, just because it helps us if there's comments that we want to also address and consider. So it helps us. So thank you. Come on up.
Sorry, that discussion happened really quickly and I didn't have a chance to get that.
Well, no worries. Thank you.
So I just wanted to, I agree with the vote that you just made. I just wanted to suggest that in considering advocacy at the state level, I mean, this is something that is like, this is a huge thing that the district is facing as far as the funding situation. And it feels a bit like, okay, well, we're going to throw $2,500 to this and that'll solve the problems. That's kind of, no. I would urge that as a district, as we're considering all of the many ways to look at this, that the advocacy at the state level involves more than supporting this lobbying effort, that it's considering the many ways that personally that we're involved in that, reaching out to the community, searching out community partners involving community in that, because there are people that are interested and want to be involved in them. And so just, you know, that's the case. And I heard that from the
Thank you, Ms. Painter. Okay. Okay. Agenda item number 9, Education Student Services. Item 9.1, After School Academic Center Grant.
Evening, honorable board members. I am here tonight to give you information on 2 grants that we have received, and what I'll be seeking is ratification. So I'm here to share the information with you. The first one is an academic centers grant. So for a number of years, the county has been awarding our schools after-school homework awards, and they have changed their focus to target academic interventions. And LEAD has applied for that grant, and they were granted $20,122.46. The district provides matching funds to go with that. The requirement is 40%, which will put us at $8,450, but sometimes we match at a higher percentage based on the need. Specifically, what this grant is focused on is K-1 literacy. Predominantly, the award will go to teacher, extra hourly. There is some extra time for classified staff, but it's overwhelmingly almost 90% for teacher time cards. And this is K-1 literacy using our benchmark materials, our new ELA, ELD curriculum. And so I would ask for, first of all, let me offer to answer any questions that you may have, and then with that, I would seek gratification on this award.
Any comments or questions?
I have a question. How long is this after-school center expected to?
For this school year, was that your question? How many
Yes,
months?
and in general also.
So each day. So it has to be at least 3 times a day with or 3 times per week with a target of between 3 and 4 times per week. And I believe that these are very young children, so sometimes an hour and 15 minutes after school.
I have a comment. Thank you. This is really, this looks really great, Heather.
Yeah,
Right?
so looks good. This is the work of the lead team. So
what, thank you. I don't know if anyone is here from there, but thank you. And thank you. Thank you. And also, I mean, to point out, this is under the County Office of Ed. So
Correct.
this is sort of like, just sort of more of that connection and support from the County Office of Ed. So instead of district staff here didn't go out to seek it. It was a umbrella and applied through that. So I think that's a nice way to go.
Yeah, I also want to add, I don't want to just question things and not, express gratitude. I think this is going to be amazing for the students that really need it, and I'm happy that we secured this grant, and I'm just wondering if there's other schools of ours that could apply for this grant.
This particular one, because they were reconfiguring from a homework model to a specific instruction intervention model, there was a little less interest, and it wasn't as well known. People kind of standardly went for the homework piece, and what the county office is looking for is really specific instruction.
So, thank you. Okay, so it's for a motion. Number 9.1. All those in favor? Aye. Aye. So we have a comment. Do we check on this after these? Okay, so moving on to item number 9.2, parent engagement grant.
The next grant is the parent engagement grant, and it came to us through the county office, even though it's not administered through the county office. Our connections around LCAP with the county office steered us in this way and allowed us to be a part of this. And this is through the Californians Dedicated to Education Foundation. Mrs. Mazur is a leader of that foundation, but this specific ratification is we signed an agreement for $3,000 worth of stipends, $1,000 per school. We have 3 schools that are participating: San Mateo Park, Highlands, and Beresford. And they participated they had a small team that participated in 2 days of professional development with the principal, at least 2 teachers, and a parent or 2. And that team is using the parent meeting structure to engage more parents. So while the ratification is only for $1,000 per school or $3,000 for the district, the in-kind, the professional development and the tentative and the technical assistance that they provide, as well as the meals during the professional development, is valued over $20,000. So there are a lot of in-kind services in addition to the cash that will go directly to the school site to support either translation, in addition to the support that we have provided to them, translation, perhaps a bus to the meetings, or any ways to reach out to parents. And a perfect example would be on Tuesday night. Beresford held their family literacy, and they had a much higher attendance than they've had before. One of their teachers reported that the professional development and the engagement was the best she's ever been a part of. So tonight I seek your ratification for the acceptance of the $3,000 worth of stipends.
Okay, right. We do have a board. Got it. Yes, right. We do have a blue slip, but we're gonna any comments or questions, or discussion.
I'd just like to say that parent engagement was a topic that was addressed in several of the workshops that took place at the California School Boards Association conference. I think it's great that we have these grants, and what I learned through one of the workshops that I attended was that parent engagement is very directly tied to student achievement. So I'm grateful to see these grants, and I would like to thank Californians Dedicated to Education Foundation for these grants. And I'd also like to say that I'm looking forward to making sure that our district is prioritizing parent engagement more. Yeah, thank you so much.
Just echo gratitude for both of these. I mean, these are exciting things to be able to say yes to. And I think that I'm looking forward to learning about kind of how this plays out, and hearing stories about the benefit. And we just love to learn more about how both of these programs kind of play out. So thank you.
Okay, so we do have a comment from the public, Stephen Davis.
As usual, I'm here talking about special needs kids. There are 1,000 plus, which would be one of the largest schools in our district if we weren't scattered all over the 20 schools in the district. Some of the schools have just a couple, some have more than 100. But this is probably one of the most disengaged from the school district as a whole population, because they spend so much time dealing with the mechanics of having special needs children, and not just on the school level. So I've asked that any time there's an opportunity to pursue parental engagement, perhaps in a little more innovative, not standard school box way, you might want to take a look at turning some of those dollars and energy to special needs kids. The department does do a good job of at least getting us some news out, but there's clearly the level of engagement of this community and achievement of this community is not where it should be. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So motion for the parent engagement grant to approve.
I motion to ratify the participation of the San Mateo Foster City School District in the Californians dedicated to Education Foundation Engaging Families in the Outcast Development Initiative.
I second. In favor? Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, agenda item 10, business finance. Agenda item 10.1, the 2017-18 first interim report, final.
All right, good evening, Board of Trustees and Dr. Rosas. Tonight's presentation is on the 17-18 first interim financial report, and this is the final presentation, meaning it will be up for vote this evening. At the last board meeting, Director of Fiscal Services, Christine Dong, presented the board with the draft presentation. Now, what I'm bringing forward tonight does have a few changes to it, but I wanted to keep the format the same because I recognize that we have 3 brand new board members who may not have had the opportunity to hear the first version. So what I want to just say at the onset is that the SACS document that you all received, this is the source document for everything that is in tonight's presentation. This is the standardized account code structure. This is the same report that all districts in the state of California complete when they're doing their interim reports, when they're doing their budget, when they're doing their unaudited actuals. So whether you are LA Unified or whether you are a one-room school district in a rural area, everybody submits this report to their county office. The county office audits it and then submits it, approves it, and then submits it to the state. So this is a universal form. It is arranged by all of the district funds are represented. They're represented numerically. We will be speaking tonight about the general fund, which is Fund 1, because that is the fund which all of our operational activities occur. After the funds, there are supplemental reports. And these, some of these are the same in each reporting period, and some vary, but they could be attendance, they could be cash flow, they could be debt, asset, lottery. Any of those supplemental reports are follow the funds. And then in the back, there is a criterion standard section, 26 pages, that systematically from what the software does is it pulls data from all of the financial data, and it compares it to data that was represented in prior years, enrollment data, and it compares it. There's an acceptable variance. So maybe it's a 2%, maybe it's a 1%. And if the district falls within a variance on whatever the parameters are for that specific criteria, it shows that the district has met that criteria. If it falls outside of that range, then we have to explain why and give an example as to why we are not within the range on that specific set of criteria. So I just wanted you to know that this is the source document. Anything that's in the presentation, you can trace back here, follow it up for further information, and of course there's a wealth of other areas that you can peruse at your leisure. So having said that, tonight's first interim, I'm going to touch on really just what is first interim. Why are we reporting on this? I'll review changes to revenue, and these will be changes since the budget was adopted by the board in June. We'll also look at changes in expenditures. And then the multi-year projection reports are also in this final draft. And then we'll discuss what next steps to look forward to in our budget process. So what is first interim? Well, first interim is the opportunity to make necessary changes that have occurred in the budget since it was adopted in June. What we have, first interim represents the actuals through October 31st, and then estimates from November 1st through the end of the year. So at this time, we incorporate the new information we have into the budget. And some of the examples of changes that we see at first interim are the addition of prior year carryover. So when we close the books in September, and those items that were in the ending fund balance, and we said, well, this will be carryover, and we'll add it at first interim, this is where you see those items reintroduced into the budget. Also, there is the adjusting of revenue based on current information, and we do have some current information that I'll be sharing with you. There is also the revising of salary expenditures based on actual versus what we had projected when we developed the budget. So for example, when we develop the budget, we know we need certain positions, et cetera, but we haven't hired those folks yet. So what we do is we use an average salary, and then when we hire those folks and we have them in the position, we've made them offers because we now know what their level of experience is, what their units are, and we can place them on the salary schedule. So we use those actual salaries, bring them into the budget now that we know that information. And then, of course, we also look at our other expenditure accounts and make adjustments so that they reflect our actual and projected expenses through the end of the fiscal year. So now that we know what first interim is, let's take a look at changes to revenue. So on the left hand, we have the 4 sources of revenue. And the first column is the adopted budget. So this is the figures that were listed in the adopted budget. The next column is first interim, and these are our current revenue figures. And then the third column is the change between the two. So in the first column, the LCFF sources. Now this is the name, universal name that is in the SACS document, so that's what it's referred to. But it does comprise more than LCFF sources of revenue. It includes property tax revenue. It includes the LCFF sources of revenue in order to make up the state allocation for the LCFF. And it also includes our state special ed funds, which come to us through the SEPA. Now, and this is the area that I do want to spend a moment to talk about, because there is the most notable change here in this category. At first interim, we are showing that the district is basic aid. This is based on information that we received almost 2 weeks ago from the county assessor's office. So the county assessor's office has their own timeline for filing their reports, which is different from ours. Their report came out. It's also called a P1. And in that report, it indicated that we had $3.3 million in increased property taxes, which would make us fall into the basic aid funding model versus LCFF. Now, also unique to the district, we have some one-time funds due to supplemental property taxes. Now, last year we did our budget as LCFF, we flipped into basic aid, we flipped out of basic aid during the year, and then at the end of the year, again based on the assessor's report from the county, we received information that we were finishing the year for 16-17 as basic aid. So we're basic aid last year, we're basic aid this year. Basic aid districts do not receive supplemental property taxes. So you might be asking, why is this up here as a line item in our budget? Because if there's a unique spot, criteria of information that if at P2 you happen to be LCFF, then the supplemental funds will be counted even if you are basic kind of a little bit of a loophole, and so that's why we're calling this as one time, because technically basic aid districts do not receive supplemental property taxes. Federal revenue, there's no change from our draft here. No change to other state revenue. And then on the local revenue, there's a change of about $80,000. And what this represents is an increase of $80,000 in donations and PTA donations, which, as you'll see on the expenditures, is applied to some of our PTA funded positions. So looking on the expenditure side of the budget, what we have here is starting off with our classified salaries, our certificated salaries. And these are just in order of how they, again, appear whenever we do our state reporting. So these, there was no change from our draft on certificated salaries. Classified salaries, we do have about an $80,000 increase over our draft. And that's where we see that $80,000 in local revenue is applied to our PTA funded positions, which happen to be a classified position. And other than that, on the rest of these expenditure items, there was no change from our draft presentation. So here we are looking at our multi-year projection. And this is the revenue side. So we're looking at our 4 sources of revenue. And in this section, we have the budget year for first interim, or 17-18. And then we are always required to show the 2 out years, and that's why it's called the multi-year projection, because it covers the 3-year period. So in our LCFF, the top line, we are showing revenue that reflects basic aid or basic aid status for 17-18, as well as in the 2 out years, also estimated at basic aid revenue levels. Our federal revenue is a little higher in 17-18 than in the 2 out years. And the reason for that is because we had carryover funds or and deferred revenue that we added into the 17-18 budget. We do not anticipate having that in the next 2 out years, and those 2 years are budgeted as a flat revenue. Our state income includes the one-time revenue, one-time state funds that we were received in 17-18, allocated specifically for this budget year. That's why you see in the following year, those one-time funds are not in there, and we will not budget for them until which time we find out we have them or we don't have them. Now with local income is higher in the 17-18 year than it is in the 2 out years, and the reason for that is because local income, the change here is driven by parent donations and PTA donations, again, largely coming from positions that are funded through those donations. And as with any donations, they are recognized and included in the budget at the time that they're received. So we know we will receive donations in the 2 out years, and we will add them to the budget at the time that those donations are so graciously received. Now looking at the multi-year projection for our expenditure side of the budget, on our certificated salaries, we have a little bit of increase in the 18-19 year, and a little bit in the following year. This is due to step and column increases being included in our budget. Classified salaries go down in the out year because this is a reflection of our PTA funded positions, which are largely classified. Those will go up when funds are received in those years and those positions are funded. Benefits are increasing because of the fact that we have increasing rates in both of our STRS and FERS pensions. Now the books and supplies, the services, the capital outlay, those categories of of expenditures are increasing in the first interim because it's a reflection of carryover funds that are added to those expenditure accounts. Other outgo, this is represents payment to the county Office of Education,
They run special ed programs there, which some of our students are enrolled in, and our students are served through that program. So we do make a payment to the county for those services. Looking at the interfund transfers, we have transfers in, we have transfers that go out to other funds. So when we look at the bottom line of our total net increase or decrease to our budget, you can see that in the first interim we have a deficit of 11.8 million. In the 2 out years we are positive, but I do want to note that the asterisk down here, that very recently we had reached a tentative agreement with our teacher association, and those, because it's not been ratified, it's not been added into the budget. So this does not reflect any of the pending salary agreements that have very recently been have a tentative agreement. So these numbers will definitely change when those salary changes are incorporated into the budget. So now we're looking at the multi-year projection for the third category on our budget, and this is the ending fund balance. So our beginning balance is on the top line. Our ending fund balance for each of the respective years is right below that. In the first year, due to the deficit spending, our ending fund balance is lower than the beginning fund balance. So what comprises the ending fund balance in each of the years? Well, we have amount that is set aside for revolving cash. This is our revolving funds. We have a restricted ending fund balance, and this is for programs that are restricted, whether it's federally restricted at the state level, state funds that are restricted, or locally restricted funds. We have a reserve for economic uncertainty that, beginning with this year, is 6%. And then we have an assigned ending fund balance, and this represents items in the ending fund balance that are assigned for use either within the year or have been determined to be used right in the following year, and we want to make sure we have funds available for those purposes. This particular assigned ending fund balance has the salary agreement that we discussed. It is assigned for use. As soon as it is incorporated into the budget, it will come out of the assigned ending fund balance, and then it'll go back up to those salary and benefit expenditure ones that we saw on the other slide. We have an undesignated reserve. That's the balance that has not been either used as revolving cash, restricted in our economic reserve, or assigned. And total available reserves for 17-18 is 11%. Again, asterisk here indicates that it does not include any of the recent negotiated salary agreements. So what's next? Well, we had our first community town hall Tuesday night. We have 2 more next week. We have 1 the following week. And our fiscal advisory committee meeting will be in January when we come back from our break. Also in January, the governor releases his proposed budget. This is the state budget. And what's the significance here is because the state budget has impact on how school districts are funded. Because school districts are just about half of the state budget. So that's when we learn what the governor has proposed on the state level, whether or not there may be a likelihood or a chance of one-time funds, and any other opportunities and impacts to school districts from the state budget. In March, we have second interim. So we go through the same process. We will have a board presentation, which will be a draft, followed by a final presentation for approval. In June, we have both the LCAP and the budget partner together. We have a public meeting at our first June, public hearing at the first June meeting. And that is followed by LCAP and budget adoption at our second June meeting. At this point, I'd be happy to have any questions or comments.
public comments so far, and we have two, looks like. Ian McCullough, and then Jacob Thiel.
Madam President, my question to you, question for here, is regarding the $5 million in supplemental property taxes. I just want to make sure my understanding is correct. So my understanding is, as of right now, we are a basic aid district. If at secondary, which is what I understand is meant by P2, we are LCFF, then we get that $5 million in supplemental property taxes. If we continue being basic aid, then we do not get that $5 million. Is that a correct understanding?
Okay, Jacob Thiel.
I think the question is for the ending fund balance. When we saw the presentation in the fall or spring or summer, we were going negative from the third year out. Now we seem to be maintaining that balance. I think it was raised since then. Every year we hear the budget's going down and down. We keep decreasing, but magically by the end of the year, when the budget reconciles, our ending fund balance increases. It seems like we're seeing that at first level. I haven't seen that way.
Thank you, Mr. Thiel. Okay, thanks. Okay. Randy Painter.
Just a couple of points. So first of all, on the slide where that was titled expenditure update.
Randy, sorry, not Ms. Painter, Randy.
Dr. Painter.
Dr. Painter, I'm good with that. Thank you. So this is public comment on the agenda item. So what that means is you may comment, please. We were very happy to hear your comments.
Okay. Yeah, so just a comment. I was surprised that in the certificated salaries in that row, so this is the first row on the slide that was entitled expenditure update, that there was, first of all, that this was indicated as no change between these two, although there appears to be a $1.1 million variance. But this was mentioned as no change, and I just wonder how this is, excuse me, how this is no change. And this just leads me to another question generally. Like on this slide, you know, and this is a problem that I have generally with a lot of presentations that are on the website, or a lot of presentations that are made here, or the document that's left, is that, like, going back here, I would have no idea what these columns represent. This doesn't have the column titles. A lot of times in the slides that I go back to reference, and I do, on the website, there's no author, stuff isn't titled, the abbreviations aren't explained. And people are honestly trying to go and understand the specifics of these things. You know, I said I'm Dr. Painter. Actually, you know, I have a PhD from Harvard. You know, that's not too shabby. It took a long time to do a bachelor's, a master's, a doctorate, a postdoc, and it's quantitative. I mean, I do stats, epidemiology. And I still have a hard time, guided through this, understanding this and making heads or tails of this. I just wonder how this can be accessible. I mean, this is a rhetorical question. Do our board members understand this? And how can we make this accessible to the community who really wants to dig in and understand these things? I mean, we're the taxpayers, we're responsible for it. We want to understand it, and we want to help make this possible.
So I'm gonna actually, no, I'm gonna answer. So thank you for your comments, Randy. I just wanted to sort of, I do want to respond in one regard, and I want to say thank you very much for each of everybody's comments tonight on this agenda item and on all the items. You know, we really appreciate your interest. However, at times it means that we can direct you as to a way to sort of get some of these questions answered. And so, for example, would be to contact our CBO, who would be, you know, happy to speak with you. And, you know, also I really encourage attendance at the Fiscal Advisory Committee meetings and the town halls that are coming up. These are really great ways to start getting some of these questions answered, or continue on searching and understanding better. Same thing with attending coffee chats. Are we in our comment time now? Okay, so just, I want to say that. Now to my comments, that was just a reply to your public comment, but my own board comment would be that I think school finance in California is incredibly difficult to understand. And I have been involved with Educators State for about 6 or 7 years, and it's a grassroots parent-led advocacy group to help improve the quality of education across California. And part of that, and a big part of that, and we've, you know, Dr. Rosa's brought to us tonight the advocacy piece for the increased funding. We're significantly underfunded. All of us up here know this. So to speak to some of the comments we heard in public comment right now, I once heard a few years ago that prior to LCFF, there were only 7 people in the state of California who understood education financing so that they could convey it to the general public, right? So that was 7 people who really understood it fluently. So I have been working on this years prior to being elected to serve our community on this board. And I have been, and I'm not a quantitative person, so that makes it an extra challenge, but I have spent years trying to understand this. And so I think some of the questions that I ask, you know, and that frankly I haven't been asking that much for the first year, because I was, you know, hey, you know, but everybody else understands it, because I had a prior board that did have more experience at that time, right? So, you know, I felt reluctant in this setting to ask questions. But I do my research. As I said, I have been involved in this for a long time. So I just wanted to sort of make that comment, that I think, you know, being a new board member, it takes, we all know there's a learning curve, about a year, 2 years. There's more of like a 2 to 3 year learning curve, I'd say, and I can attest to that. But, you know, so questions are good. We want questions. And I think that it's a very challenging thing to understand in terms of flipping to basic aid, not basic aid, and one-time funds. So just wanted to sort of, I do want to address that.
So, before we move on, well, I just wanted to, I guess, address questions that were asked by folks in the community to see your child. So if we can please clarify the $5 million basic aid, what that money, whether or not that is correct in its understanding in terms of, and that's a question that I always follow, is clarifying kind of where that money, are we guaranteed that funding? My understanding of that, well, I'll let you explain it so that I don't confuse us all more. And then also, oh yes, I also, similar to Dr. Painter, had a question around the change, the no change in the expenditure update. So if we can talk about those 2 things out.
Okay, let's start with the first question, which I believe was the one-time $5 million. So that is tied to the district being LCFF in 16-17 at P2. Okay, so that's a unique situation because we were basic aid, we were out of basic aid, we were back in. But at that time period, and this is the catch, at that time period at P2, we were LCFF, and therefore supplemental property taxes will be counted in the district's property tax calculation as to what can be counted towards our revenue sources. Us being basic aid, at least at this particular moment, and if we continue to be basic aid through the year and end the year being basic aid, Next year, we will not receive those supplemental property taxes. So that's that. We are into basic aid by $3.3 million. If something should change, and there's no guarantee, right? Because as we saw last year, we put in and out multiple times. If we do not retain that $3.3 million, the 5 goes away as well. It's all or nothing. Now, if we stay basic aid, we won't get the 5 next year, but we will get some amount of funding over our LCFF calculation. Okay. And I apologize because I thought I had copied these headers onto the next slide, so it's the same column. On the expenditure side, what I had referenced was that there was no change since the draft report, which was at the last board meeting. The only change on these expenditures at first interim between the draft report is the classified salaries, which represent the additional $80,000 that were added due to PTA-funded positions. I also put a whole column on here that explains what is driving the change. So those are, I was hoping those would be some key reference points, and I'm happy to go over those if the board would like to hear what those are. Thank you.
Carolyn?
Yes.
I do have a question because I do know which lines you're talking about. I understand the question, but you mentioned 80,000, which I also understand through PTA, but I don't see the 80,000 up there, so I'm confused.
Right, so the classified salaries, the change, and the draft report was 618,000. No, 698,000.
Oh, okay. So it was a reduction, an addition from 14 million to 15 million, which is approx 80, and so that's, I don't understand. But that's okay. That's my math problem.
No. Let me try to do a better job. So
I think there's a confusion about the draft. The draft was what you were given at the last meeting, and we're not looking at it here. So what you're bringing up is that in the last meeting, when you presented this slide, it was one way. And what you're trying to point out is that we're looking at this slide today, and there's an $80,000 difference on the line item. So I think that's where, and so, yes, there's a $698,000 difference from the goldenrod to the green to the purple, but it was from our last draft.
So the 89,000 is not on
Something
because
is
it's
not
not
looking at.
compared to so that expensive.
That's right.
I just like to know what I'm, no.
It makes sense. I wanted to make sure you understood, yeah. Thank you.
Actually, just really quick, I want to thank the speakers for sharing their comments, and this is really, really complicated, and I would just like to say that I definitely would like to spend more time understanding this budget. I don't know if it's the best moment to do that right now.
Right, so you know what, we can do something, for example, like a study session, or we can do add-ons to other items. So we can also, so we can perhaps table this conversation to the end of our agenda when we have board member requests for future agenda items. So, thank you, Noelle, I appreciate it. So, do we have a motion? No? No. I'm going to move. I move that we adopt the 2017-18 first interim report final as presented. Second?
Second.
In favor? Aye. Votes. Yeah. You can say no. That was the ayes. Are there any noes? Okay, a no. Okay. So we have 4 ayes and a no. Okay. So item number 10.2, gifts presented to the schools.
It's always a pleasure to bring the gifts that have been presented to our schools. And I would like to ask for your approval of these gifts.
Motion to approve the gifts presented to the schools. Second.
Those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
So, agenda item number 11, board member requests for future agenda items. So we've already heard that there's a request for clarity around budget. What else did we hear tonight?
My assumption is the items at the table will automatically be added, but just to refresh, just the adoption of existing board policies. And
Thanks.
agreement.
Thank you. Thanks. Right.
I would also like to add classroom walkthroughs and
No, good. Yeah. Right. No. Absolutely. That's okay. Anything that you want to say is okay. However, I have a response to that, which is that you have an interest in that, and that is the kind of thing that's relating to a protocol, right? So the walkthroughs of the classrooms, is that what you're referring to, like the Monday, almost monthly or weekly? They're weekly, something like that.
So we can do this at our governance session.
Okay.
That was what I was getting to, right? So it's a protocol we're going to be discussing at our 6-hour-long January 20th governance team workshop. So the board policies, University of Phoenix. I'm sorry, say it again. So, again, no, don't be sorry. It's, this process. And we're kind of working it through here with a majority new board. So it's, I've been there. Don't worry about it. I was only one of 5, though. It was different. So I think, I'll just go through the things that we highlighted, which are the policies, the University of Phoenix and the budget. Anything else right now? I think.
Yeah, I'd like to kind of reference something that I heard during public comment in terms of looking at equity and socioeconomic balance.
Thank you.
Achievement
Right.
scores.
Thanks.
I don't know if would that be a closed session?
No. All of our business is conducted in the public. So you said, well, except for the prescribed items that are conducted in closed session. So I just want to make sure I'm hearing you. I do understand the gist, of course, but I thought I didn't catch all your words because you were talking about equity, socioeconomic, thank you, that was the word, in our schools. Was there something else you said?
Achievement scores.
So achievement, so the achievement gap.
I know those are
So
separate
equity.
topics.
Right, but they're really pretty much all under the achievement gap. Well, there's the achievement gap, and then the socioeconomic balancing is a potential strategy that can be used to address the achievement gap, for example. So, right, so when looking at this, for example, the University of Phoenix is something that I believe, Dr. Rosas, you can add on to another agenda item. It can be an agenda item in more detail for the University of Phoenix questions that you all were interested in hearing about. So that can just be simply added on to another agenda. It's kind of a discrete topic. But then we're looking at the policies, we're looking at budget, we're looking at equity and achievement gap. So I think that for process, it's one of the roles of the president, one of the responsibilities to work with Dr. Rosas in looking out to the year and knowing the topics that are already pending, because there's certain things that we're prescribed to look at. For budget, we have to look at this first interim now, and then we get the second interim, third. So there's like prescribed calendar of events, of topics. And in fact, to reference, because we all just went to CSBA, we learned a lot of really great information. And of course, it'd be perfect if I could just pull it out right now. But one of the things that was in more than in multiple sessions was that the three of you, a couple of you attended the new board member training, and so this was one of the things referenced, and I took the opportunity to spend the day in the board president's workshop, and so one of the things they talked about was, this is a common thing that all boards all across the state of California are facing, right? So whether you have new members, whether you don't, what phase you're in, you are looking forward, we're future looking, right? So how do we best plan for that? How do we deal with all of this massive amounts of information? How do we also still maintain our focus? You know, each of us up here tonight has said that our focus is students, right? And families, communities, staff, teachers, classified staff, it goes throughout from that, all communities. So with that in mind, what was discussed at CSBA in multiple sessions is the importance of an agenda builder. So it's kind of a format, and it's how you look at the year and place things out there so that it makes sense in a flow. And so that brings, you know, not only the three of you, I would like, there's a lot of catching up to speed because there's a lot of things that are constantly evolving, right? So, you know, I have history that you may not. Audrey has much more history that I do not, but it's a flow. So without all that said, and correct me if I'm wrong, but right, Joan and I will work, you know, to look at when these things will be best rebrought and that they'll be brought back to.
And actually at the governance session, that'll be something that you can look at, is the year at a glance, and then we can always add to it, but it is something to do that day, to start placing items on that agenda.
And just so the public is clear, that is happening in January.
Right, so annually,
That was
so annually, in addition to this, there's, the cycle. There's like a cycle of events that occur and topical events in school districts driven by ed code, and driven by good governance standards. So annually, we do have a reorganization meeting, which we had tonight, election of new officers. That happens every year. It doesn't matter if you have new electeds or not, you do it every year. And it's part of good governance standards, right? It's like we're always, you know, you're not static. We're changing, we're evolving, we're building on people's strengths. You know, we each have a lot of strengths up here. So to that end, the other thing that happens annually, it doesn't matter the makeup of the board, length of term of service, we have an annual governance workshop. So if you have a board that's been working together for a few years, it may be only a couple of hours long to address the governance handbook. That's sort of the starting point. That's our protocols for how we interact up here and governance team and our standards, but also how we interact with the public. I mean, anyone who's interested can feel free to grab the booklet back there. It's, I think, really well done. It's really well done. It's not too long of a read, and that's the basis of the January 20th, 9 in the morning, open public governance workshop that we'll all be participating in. And that's more about protocol and how we operate as a group and a team with the community. So it's the January 20th, starting at 9 a.m. That's correct, right? Okay, this is Saturday. It's a Saturday, 9 a.m., January 20th. So, okay. So item number 12, future meeting dates. We just covered some of them. So, let's see. I know to read that. So I read. December 11. I don't know what that is. At 7 p.m. we have the San Mateo Foster City Ed Foundation. I'm not forgetting this time. And that will be here in the district office in the Abbott foyer built room. And then on December 20th at 7 p.m. we have a special board meeting here in the boardroom. That's great. So it's Measure X, it's full scope of Measure X projects on December 20th. But it will be fully posted on the agenda and an open public meeting. Any others to add? Okay. So, item number 13, adjournment. A motion. Go ahead, Rebecca. In favor? Aye. Okay, thank you.